Hello, everyone who is watching and watching this live and also watching the replay. So hello, my name is Jonathan. I'm the organizer of the 30-day speaking challenge. Let me just leave a comment here. So live. I am live now. So please refresh your screen. Refresh your screen. Okay. So just leaving that comment there. So I'm the organizer of the 30-day speaking challenge. And so this is kind of a Q&A session. If you have any questions about what is the 30-day speaking challenge, how does it work, where do I post recordings, etc., feel free to leave those questions. I can see them here in the chat area on my cell phone that goes along with this video. And I think now on YouTube, those comments that are in that live chat, they stay with the video, so I can see them afterwards as well. And if you're watching this as a replay, you can leave a comment under the video. So what is the 30-day speaking challenge? It's a program that I have been organizing for now about a year and a half. So September is the 18th consecutive month of organizing this. And the idea is each day, record yourself speaking in your target language for a few minutes. I primarily promote and encourage people to use audio recordings, but some people are comfortable with being on camera, like I am right now. But first, I recommend that people get into a habit of using an audio program. That way there are less obstacles, like how's my hair, how's the background, how's my makeup, how's my clothing. Sometimes that can be a little distraction before we make a recording. So I would just encourage people to, wherever they are, if they're on their cell phone, if they're on their computer, just start speaking a little bit to track their progress. So the one tool that we use here, the SpeakPipe voice recorder, that is possible to use on a browser, on a cell phone or a tablet or some mobile device. I use this on my phone sometimes if I'm not in front of my computer in the office, or if I'm out on the street and I want to make a recording right now. I have that flexibility to do that on my phone. Otherwise, there are other options: Facebook Live, YouTube, Instagram videos, SoundCloud, VoiceSpice, Vocaroo, Clip.it, that's CLYP.IT. There are many options here for making recordings, sharing them, getting a link to the recording. And then after we get that link, we share that, we put it on a Google document for our target language. So if I'm learning Russian and I make a recording in Russian, I will paste that link on the Google document, and then a Russian native speaker or somebody else who is learning Russian could give me some feedback and write some of those comments underneath my recording. And it's basically like a message in a bottle. And then instead of throwing it to the ocean, we throw it onto a Google document, and then we try to encourage native speakers to go look there, listen, and leave some feedback. Now, I mentioned I'm learning Russian, but in the challenge, we do have native speakers and target languages that are at least 20 or so languages. Let me just go over here to the list. So the target languages we have in September so far: Arabic, Cantonese Chinese, Mandarin Chinese, Czech, Danish, Dutch, English, French, German, Greek, Hebrew, Italian, Japanese, Korean, Polish, Portuguese, Russian, Spanish, Swedish, Vietnamese, and Welsh. Now, if you didn't hear your target language on there, I didn't decide those languages. Those are the languages that people have said that they're learning, that they want to practice when they sign up. So if you go to the website, I'll put the link here to go to the challenge. If you haven't signed up yet, it's not too late to join. I'll put the link here in the comments. So that is a link to the website where you can sign up to join the 30-day speaking challenge. And there I ask people what their native language is and what their target language is. And then from that target language, I make a Google Doc for that. And then people can start posting links there. Now, if your target language is not there, then just let me know what it is, or send me an email, and I'll add one, add a Google Doc where you can start posting recordings. So that list of those languages, that's based on participants' target languages. It's not that I decided arbitrarily we're only going to do those 20 languages. That's it. No, these are languages based on what people are learning. Now, in terms of what should I talk about, each day I send an email, and in the email there is a prompt or a few questions about a certain topic. So for example, in August, maybe talking about summer or talking about plans for back to school. Usually this first week of September, or the first week of the challenge, I ask people to introduce themselves, talk about their language learning goals, talk about their what they want to accomplish, what they want to work on, what some of their hobbies and interests are, to kind of allow people to get to know you a little bit while listening to your recordings. And we then maybe as I react to listening to people's recordings and see, oh, people seem to be interested in this topic, or they have this background. Well, maybe let's talk about that. So I see there might be some people talking about yoga or fitness or health. Maybe we'll talk about that this month. Or some people look like they enjoy art or books or movies, and maybe we'll talk about that. So some of these might be conversational topics that you might discuss with a language exchange partner or a teacher. And if you have a suggestion for a topic, feel free to share that. So I will again put together like a link to a document where you can leave a suggestion for topics and questions, and then maybe also have people vote on some of these topics that they would like to discuss. So I definitely want to encourage participation in terms of the language learning process, the making the recordings and the prompts and the feedback. So this is your community. So be part of it. Join in the discussion of what would you like to talk about. And also, if for some reason the topic that is suggested is either too difficult or it's not appropriate for your level, if it's too advanced or too difficult, feel free to adjust, to adapt the prompt, or speak about something completely different. And usually within the first week of the challenge, I invite people to ask each other questions. So we compile, so I ask at least 100 people to ask 5 questions that they would like to ask other people. Then if there's about 20, 30 people who actually are participating and actually contributing those questions, then easily there's at least 100 questions to work from. And then that becomes a list that you can look at and consult throughout the rest of that month. So I will continue suggesting some topics each day. but you're always welcome to go back to this list of questions that fellow participants have wanted to ask each other. And those questions are usually very interesting, about culture, about travel, language learning advice, etc. So those are things to talk about. And I like having those prompts there in general, because when I was in the Add One challenge about 2 years ago and trying to get into a habit of speaking on a daily basis to track my progress, I had to come up with my own prompts. I had to come up with my own activities. If it was reading from a newspaper, reading from a book, reading from a magazine article, if it was just talking about how my day went or my plans for the weekend, or talking about something that happened that day, or whatever was on my mind. But my ideas kind of went in circles a little bit. I would have enjoyed having a list of suggestions for, like, hey, let's talk about this. Because otherwise, if I just get stuck in my comfort zone, I might not really realize where are the limits of my vocabulary. So if I'm out of my comfort zone with a topic, that forces me to learn some new vocabulary words, or even if I don't really have an opinion about that topic, or it's not really necessarily interesting for me, well, what about if I meet somebody, a language exchange partner, or somebody else who's interested in that topic, and they want to talk about that? Maybe I need to learn a few words just to be able to keep a conversation going, or be able to understand somebody else. So we don't always get to pick and choose what other people like to talk about. So it is helpful to practice learning vocabulary for a variety of things that could be interesting to other people in addition to yourself. Get yourself out of your comfort zone, expand your vocabulary, expand what you're familiar with, and then from there, keep learning something new each day. And if for some reason you're busy, or you're sick, or it's just bad timing that week, you can simplify these recordings and just talk about whatever is on your mind. But the prompts are there if you want to use them. And it is kind of nice when there are people from different languages, different target languages, talking about the same topic. It does allow you to kind of look at other words and expressions. If you speak more than one language, you could see what other people's opinions are on that topic, and then maybe you can learn some new vocabulary, learn some new expressions, or the discussion can be more than just in your target language. And we also have a Facebook group. There's about close to 500 people in there, where people have been participating multiple times, and they're like-minded, active, encouraging, friendly, very positive, optimistic language learners who are there to really help each other. And just in this day or two that we've started for September, I've noticed a lot of feedback, encouragement. People are already giving feedback to each other in the Facebook group and also on the Google document. So this process, this community gets stronger and better each day, each month. And I'm really, really pleased to see so many wonderful people from around the world coming together as a community of wanting to support and encourage one another in this language learning process. So that alone is excellent. So in addition to this fact of trying to get into a habit of making recordings, and I've recently been reading a book called The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. I'm going to leave that in a comment here. The Power of Habit. And this is a great book analyzing like what goes into the habit formation process, and there's usually a cue, a trigger, some kind of action or routine, and then a reward, and then some desire to kind of keep that going, waiting for the next iteration of that three pieces, the cue. So maybe a cue could be my cell phone vibrates, and then my reaction is, oh, I need to check my phone. That could be a notification, that could be an email. And then after I check that, I feel good. I got a message, or I saw something, or there was a like, there was a comment, or whatever. Maybe I get some dopamine and I have some sense of pleasure. And then the brain is told, like, oh, I enjoyed that little process. Okay, we're going to keep that going. So the next time I hear a vibration on my phone, I'm immediately going to grab my phone to pick it up and look at it. But let's say that habit, maybe it's not so beneficial all day long. So maybe what I need to do if I want to break a habit or form a new one, or do something more productive with my time, then maybe I could say, okay, I hear a vibration from my phone. Maybe that's a trigger for me to go do something else. So let's say I get a vibration on my phone, and I know it's probably a notification or a message or something like that. How about, instead of looking at my phone, how would I go over to my set of flashcards? Let's say, like, because I've been learning some Arabic in the alphabet. Let's say, okay, I hear a notification. Let's let that be a trigger for a different routine. So my routine, okay, I'm gonna look at my flashcards, review this, learn something new. Or this is not exactly something that I've seen him talk about directly in there, is maybe let's add a step to that habit. So because basically what a habit is starting to become here is maybe instant gratification. Like, I hear a notification and I start feeling anxious. I need to go check it. So if I don't check it, I'm kind of in a an anxiety and what is this called? Like an abstinence of, I need to check that, or like I need my fix. So like if you haven't had caffeine, like coffee, you need to do this, otherwise you're not going to feel at ease. So maybe what you can do is add a step to this process, or add a step or two, kind of make it a little more challenging for yourself. Work for it if you want to get that reward or something. But so you can modify these habits that you have and make them into your part of your daily routine. So maybe, okay, before you go to bed, you're going to go brush your teeth. What if you add a step to that habit and say, okay, as I'm going to be brushing my teeth, I'm going to be looking at maybe some flashcards or a vocabulary list on the mirror, or next to my mirror, I have some vocabulary words that I'm learning. And so I can link two habits and say, okay, I'm brushing my teeth and I'm reviewing the vocabulary words that I want to learn for that day or that week. Or I'm driving and I listen to a podcast. So maybe I link two habits, put them together, and then this becomes a stronger pattern or routine. And so I'd like you to try to figure out ways that you can incorporate speaking practice or thinking practice in your target language. So some people mention that they may not always have a few minutes to make their recording, but they can at least think about the target language and think in the target language and think about the prompt and try to assess, do I know vocabulary words for that? And if they don't, then figure out, oh, maybe that is a word I'd like to know. That is a useful word. Maybe I'll write that down. And so the thinking in your target language and activating it, making those synapses and connections stronger, does become a positive cycle, and it gets stronger. And when that connection gets stronger in your head, it gets easier to make the connection between your brain and your tongue and the whole process. So the more you practice it, the easier it gets. And it is very beneficial if you do this on a daily basis. So try to get yourself into a habit, into a routine, Try to do this on a regular basis at a regular time each day. And if you, for some reason, have a bad day, or you get sick or ill, or just something unexpected happens, extra traffic or whatever, you can kind of at least try to think about the topic, even if you don't make the recording. At least think about it. So you always have time to think during the day, whether you're not, you have some silence, maybe there's background noise with dogs, kids, the pedestrians. So maybe it's not necessarily a quiet environment. As I've been making recordings for such a long time now, I realize like there is no really such a thing as a quiet environment. I mean, there's always something going on for some background noise. It's very rare that there's nothing going on, unless it's like 2 in the morning on a Sunday or something. But otherwise, at least practicing thinking, you can do that. And then if later you do have some time to make a recording, that's great. But if you feel like you need to catch up, that's fine. Just try not to feel like, okay, I missed day 1. I have to do 2 recordings tomorrow. Oh no, I missed day 2. Now I have to do 3 recordings the next day. That accumulation, that really does weigh down on a lot of people, on their shoulders. So don't look at it as like, okay, I have to do 2 recordings tomorrow. So if I not alone, like not only I found it difficult to find time on day 1, am I going to find time to do 2 recordings on day 2 to catch up? So try to look at it a little differently and say, okay, let's just do 1 recording day 3. And if I do have some time, maybe I'll go back to day 2 and maybe go back to day 1. But if you're on day 3 and you've missed day 1, day 2, don't necessarily feel like you have to suddenly catch up. So try to just focus on 1 day at a time, and stop a losing streak or a skipped streak, and just get back on your horse and keep going. If you miss a day, it's not the end of the world. For some people who are participating for the first time, committing to 30 days consecutively, that can be very daunting, a bit overwhelming. So maybe first approach this as, let's try 3 days in a row. Can I do 3 days in a row? Great. Okay, let's add 1 more day. Okay, let's do day 4. Let's add 1 more day, day 5. I think you can see where I'm going with this. So eventually you do get to day 30 if you just add 1 more day to your streak, as opposed to 30 days. How am I ever going to do that? Let's just take it 1 day at a time, and each day think, did I make a recording? Let's make a recording. And this habit will get easier and it will get stronger as you do that. If you skip this and skip days and you wait until the weekend, it may take a longer time to get that, like the results. Try to encourage yourself to do this on a daily basis. Okay, so there haven't really been many comments here or questions. So I'm now going to go over to Instagram. So if you want to follow the rest of this conversation over there, I'm going to be at English dot with Jonathan on Instagram to answer other questions. And that will be right now. But feel free to join the speaking challenge if you're watching this replay or watching this live still. It's still open to join for September. And otherwise, if you see this video later, the doors on the program are open like from up until day 7. So, but the emails start on day 1 of the month and we go to day 30. If it happens to be February, then we go into like March 1st or 2nd to finish the 30 days. It's not a big deal. So you're welcome to join that. It's free. And there's a lot of great benefits from participating and meeting like-minded people in there. But thank you for watching. Have a great day, afternoon, evening, and keep practicing.